returning now to get into an overview of Pod'Lair theory. In this episode, I'm going to be showing you some footage of me giving a lecture to some students of mine from a little while back. In there, I'm going over the mandala of Pod'Lair theory. A mandala basically means everything understood. Different models of thought may not use that exact definition, but that is basically what it means in a lot of ways, and that's how Pod'Lair uses it. Everything understood. The word mandala comes from the Sanskrit for circle. So often it is an actual circle with lines in some way dividing it up. The circle represents everything, and the lines understood, or how the everything is understood. A few examples may highlight this for you. Take, for example, Buddhist thought. You actually have the yin-yang symbol, where there is yang on one side and yin on the other, and then a little bit of each embedded. So a little bit of yin in the yang, and a little bit of yang in the yin. Through that symbol, you can kind of extrapolate the rest of the universe. The rest of all understanding can fall into that. That's your mandala. That's your lens to understand everything else. Another popular model would be, for example, say Christianity. You could look at it as everything is what is known or under the purview of God or the deity of choice, and that is the circle. And then you would have like two lines dissecting that, so that you would have a top layer, a middle layer, and a bottom layer. Heaven, earth, and hell. Through that, you could understand all existence. That's another mandala. A third mandala you may have seen in some posters in New Age shops and maybe in some other specialty stores is sort of like the atom, like the atom subatomic structure, then a human superimposed over the atom, and then the earth superimposed over the human, and then the solar system superimposed over the earth, and then the cosmos superimposed over that. So that circle with those layers within it, you could see everything. That would, for example, could be the scientific model, the empirical evidence model. That's another mandala for understanding existence and everything. In Pod'Lair theory, we use the mandala of everything is energy evolving, with 8 pathways of understanding to help a human learn all the aspects of everything. So the circle in Pod'Lair theory for our mandala would be everything is energy evolving. So that's how we define everything. And then 8 pathways that give you more specific ways to address aspects that are so large, they're like fields of study within themselves. Each of the 8 pathways has 5 major disciplines, and through those 8 pathways and 40 disciplines, you can understand all of existence, yourself as the one, and the cosmos and everything in it as the all. It's going to be the Pod'Lair overview. Being an IG really is not anything particular as far as using an example, because we're not going to get into math or how individual designs work. But I will say that being an IG, for those of you who are watching this who are an IG, the way we work, we like the big picture, and we like to know what everything is involved in a case we're working on, and then we want to know what our leverage points on that are. Has to do with our main 2 subjective powers. But that is an important way we work, and it's very, very awesome, and it keeps us from looking foolish, because we like to take our time, make sure we understand the big picture, and then we understand the key things that make it work. Then we can ask really smart, educated questions, and it makes us excellent students and excellent teachers and researchers. It's very beneficial to the way you think to kind of get the all of it in a concise package. So that's what we're going to try to do for everyone. So hopefully you'll like that, and it will let you see what the big pieces are before you start getting into anything individually, because you're going to be wondering, as an IG, I see this piece, but what about this piece and how does it connect to this piece? So we might as well go to that right now and go global and talk about how all the main pieces in the theory connect, and then we can get into the more specific stuff in future filmings. We will be using an example like what Mojo you are is often used for that, but it doesn't have to be. So for example, I know I'm an IG, so in the filmings that come up, I'm going to use an IG as an example. But for yourself, you can use any Mojo really you want as an example. But those of you who know what your Mojo is or have a decent idea what it is very beneficial and exciting to actually use your own Mojo as the example. So that's what I'll be doing. Pod'Lair is an omni theory, and an omni theory is a theory about everything, or the premise is that the study of it would inform on everything else. It would all trickle down from there. with the 4 languages of understanding, because there's so much to understand. You have to come out with sort of like different instruments that are within you, but when you're in those different instruments, it feels like a different experience, and so sometimes it can throw you off. So it's like learning 4 languages, but you were built to learn those, that's fine. Natural law is basically the language of energy, and energy is never wrong. So if you fall off of a building and you go splat, that's gravity talking to you. It doesn't mean that gravity's always like that. You may think it is, and you may think that's what natural law is telling you. But then you go to Mars or the moon, you realize, oh no, actually natural law is saying something different here. I fall differently. Gravity talks to me differently. But it's never wrong. Natural law is never wrong. All the languages are underneath it because energy is never incorrect. You just have to read it right. Spirit forms are basically, long story short, our psyches and everything in them are one large pantheon of characters, of which what you think of yourself, is one of them. And that's a crucial concept to understand, is that you are only operating with a small part of your total psyche, the conscious part. There's a whole lot else going on there that is informing on that conscious part. So the conscious you is just one of yous. There's a whole lot of yous in you. And actually the ones that aren't conscious, most of them are more powerful than you. So it's pretty good to know how to dialogue with them. Mojo is basically the mathematical way that humans are designed, and relates to cognitive functionality and the mental processes and how they line up in individual humans. There's only 16 designs, but they fit together a kind of algorithm, meaning that the humans are designed to work as specialists, and you're designed to be a specialist, whether you know it or not, within the human collective. And that specialization of the mental processes will affect all the spirit forms and the way you understand natural law. Natural law is still there, and spirit forms, there's certain mathematics to that apply to everyone, but it may look very different than you because your Mojo's interpretation of the spirit form may be radically different. So you need to learn the language also, because it colors things quite a bit. Language of memes, that's basically everything that you learned in this lifetime, and may or may not be true. Natural law, spirit forms, and Mojo really are never wrong. It's just how you're using them. Memes has a lot to do with how you're using them. So memes can be right for a period of time, but then might not be right. So for example, Japanese is a cool language. It might be a cool language for thousands of years to come. Then certain ways of doing navigation, that was cool 100 years ago, but now not so much. And the ones we're using right now, 200 years from now, that's not so cool. It's kind of outdated. So memes have to update. But updated memes are really, really cool, because the internet is an updated meme. And I wouldn't know what to do without the internet. In fact, I've suffered moving here, not having internet for a while, and torture. Oh my goodness. So yeah. Okay, so as a human, I'm looking at things unfolding, and then perhaps you have over here a dolphin doing the same thing. And obviously, when the dolphin looks at what's unfolding and I'm looking at what's unfolding, we are seeing the same thing, but it means very different things to us because we have different lenses, we physically are different, and obviously we also have different wiring underneath the hood, so they care about different stuff than I do. So if I was to try to explain or understand truth through a dolphin, I would logically have to kind of go into that character or try to come out of my own character because its wants and needs are so different than mine. But that actually exists within the human species. The Mojo, the specialization that we've spoken of, actually causes it that even within our own species, humans, if another human has a radically different design than I do, although they're looking at the same scene, the same life as I do, they're not seeing the same thing because the same dangers and rewards aren't applying to them as they do apply to me. And so when I approach something, I understand that I am a human trying to understand the all. And so the first thing I have to do is know myself, because I'm the instrument that's trying to figure it out. So if I am, for example, a very logical instrument or a very emotional instrument, both are great, but I need to know which one I am, because that affects my readings, because I'm the instrument doing all the litmus tests. So I'm the first instrument of observation scientifically, so I have to make sure what kind of instrument that is. And I understand that there is what's going on out here and my experience, and both are worthwhile. Trying to understand rain, just because rain is good to know in the general context, and then for me, how do I feel about rain? What does that mean to me? Does that mean anything for my crops or whatever? Like, how do I feel about that? So, for example, maybe it hasn't rained in a long time, so I really care that it's raining, I'm happy. But natural law really doesn't care. Natural law cares more about the laws of precipitation. So, as I would say, weather forecaster, you want to know both. You'd actually want to know how weather works, that's universal, but you also want to know how does that relate to me, my viewers, what's going on with our lives, the soccer game that's happening this Saturday, how does that relate? So you have to have both to have meaning. In short, there are 8 pathways in Pod'Lair that constitute the entire theory, and within each of those pathways there are a number of disciplines, so that pretty much everything humans need to do or learn or know about you could find in those pathways. And it's based on a basic premise of 2 pathways for each of the languages, one in which you come at it from the subjective point of view and one from the objective point of view. So that is what I feel is necessary in order to understand everything. So hope you like.